Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome, dear brothers and sisters in Islam, to Book Review. The last episode, we had a very interesting book. It's called Psychology in Islam for Aisha UTZ. We promised you to continue the review on this book in this episode. We're proud to have with us, for the second time, Professor Hashim Bahari, Professor and Head of the Psychiatry Department in Al-Azhar University. Thank you, Professor, for being with us. We really appreciate it. It's our pleasure.
Thank you very much.
We stopped the last time about the trends and genetic trends and how they affect our psychology.
Yeah.
We spoke about anger, and we stopped there.
Sure.
Would you like to speak more about that?
Yeah. I'm going to talk about any behavior we have through our
But anger in particular, a lot of people are suffering from that. How can you monitor it? It's a lot of people say it's genetical. I cannot stop it. I cannot prevent myself. Isn't there a solution to that?
Sure, but we have to consider, number one, that this person himself is asking or seeking for treatment, and
he has to seek treatment.
Yeah, sure. He wanna change his behavior.
Okay,
but no one can go to the clinic and coming with his mother and father and he's asking the doctor to change this person. It is not a car to improve its quality, but we have to consider that he is seeking treatment. So this is number one.
He has to seek treatment.
Yes.
But genetic disorder, the genetic problems, they can be treated, like anger and all the problems that people have can be treated.
Sure. Number one, we have to know that we consider it 20% only from our behavior, and then the 80% is developmental.
Upbringing.
So we have to consider, number one, that this is only 20%. Then he is asking to change the 80%, and there is a plan and a treatment called cognitive behavioral therapy and dynamic psychotherapy.
Cognitive
behavioral
therapy and dynamic therapy.
Yes.
Define the first one.
Sure. The cognitive behavioral therapy is the changing and the modifying my way of thinking.
Okay, so you start by modifying the way you think.
Yes.
Okay.
And this will affect my behavior. And this is based on some schedules and some assignments that the patient himself will discuss it with the psychologist and go back home and do it.
It's like homework.
Yes.
He has homework and he does it on himself. He's working on himself to
and he will come back to the psychologist to review it and find himself he did it very well. No, I couldn't face it, and I want to change the assignment to let me go through it easier. And at the end of this cognitive behavioral therapy, he will control his anger by a little bit.
Okay. And this goes along with controlling anger, controlling time management, positive thinking, and so on and so forth.
Anything making a problem to the patient.
Okay.
The dynamic psychotherapy, you know that when we have this anger, it means this. We have interaction between the genetic, the development in the family, the development in the school, in the street, in the working atmosphere.
Environment.
Yes, with my wife, with my kids. It depends. So dynamic psychotherapy is to find the interrelation between all these topics and how to improve the relation between both of them. So the patient can understand why he is in this anger attitude and how to deal with it subconsciously and consciously.
And this, the psychologist discusses with him the reasons and the ways and the conditions to control his anger.
It's mainly, you know,
it's mainly through discussion and timetable and homework.
Yeah,
right?
This is the cognitive therapy at the beginning.
The second one,
which is dynamic, mainly by psychiatrists, because it needs.
This has to be done by the psychiatrist because it needs medicine.
Yes, sometimes it needs medicine, but sometimes it doesn't. But it needs a psychiatrist.
It's clinical. It's more into clinics.
And must be the psychiatrist himself must be analyzed.
Okay.
This is the main topic in this field of treatment. Because I have to take care that the psychiatrist himself not biased. With or
the psychiatrist is not biased.
Yes, must be not biased. Because I have to understand and respect the patient's complaint. And if the patient has a problem with his wife, with his kid, I have to know the reason after it, and I'll not be judgmental. Don't do that. This is wrong. This is right. It is not like that. In psychiatry, we have to know the reason after it. Why he did it like that? What is the reason? And how to face it. And how to have a plan to understand and to move from this point to more mature point. So I have to consider myself not biased, because maybe sometimes my own behavior is with him against his wife, maybe, but I have to take myself out of this conflict, because maybe I'm going to support him against his wife, and this will divorce him from his wife, and I'll cause a great problem by this way. Maybe my wife agree about my behavior, and she's satisfied with my behavior. So I have to consider the others' behavior and how
from their point of view, not from my point of view.
Sure.
Okay, we want to move on to the point where the author talks about love and fear as being one of the very essential parts of psychological well-being.
Yes, sure. You know, Muhammad, that love must be a great idea. We have to consider it. I have to feel it.
Let's first define love. How can psychologically love be well developed?
You know,
and how can you move your love in the right way? Because I know love can make problems sometimes to people when they don't know how to love others, and who to love, and when to hate. Some people have a disorder in this that causes them a lot of problems in their lives. So please elaborate on that.
Okay, Muhammad. You have a very tough, difficult question. What is love? You know, there are many definitions, but no one of it is really clear cut to
Let's talk about love from a psychological well-being. How to love in order to be successful in your psychological way, or psychological well-being.
Okay, this is what we call now, it is a very subjective description, that it will improve your self-satisfaction, your ability in the work, in the society, and in your relation with others, and in your relation with love. In your relation with love, I mean, the love itself is something I have to love.
Okay.
And of course, under the umbrella of Allah. So, love is a great sensation that you are love yourself. You are loving your society, your job. You are loving Allah. And these interrelations give you satisfaction.
Okay.
And satisfaction in Arabic, not in English. Satisfaction in English means that you are satisfied. Maybe you are hungry now, and after eating some food, you are satisfied. In Arabic and the Islamic perspective, when you have this food, you are really have a full stomach, and Alhamdulillah. There is other relation, develop the relation between this stomach and Allah. Alhamdulillah that you gave me this benefit.
This
and
bless.
this, yes.
Professor, but I would like you to elaborate and show more the relationship between love and the successfulness in dealing with others in the society.
Okay. Others is a very big word, but it is formed from people.
Okay.
And each one of them has his own psychology and his own way of thinking, way of behavior. And when I consider him, that this person has his own history, his own genetic, his own developed personality, I have to consider his point of view. So I have to understand why he's doing like that. What is the benefit he will have from his behavior? And what is the lose? Maybe he's going to lose something. And how can I interact with him? And I have to respect his difference. This is the basis of love. And this is how I'm going to love the difference between me and the others.
Let's sum them up. Understanding others and understanding the differences.
Yes.
And
their point of view.
And their point of view.
Yeah, it's coming from their own back history.
Okay.
Their history, it changed.
But how can this lead to love?
Yeah, because I'm loving the difference.
Okay.
When
I'm accepting the difference, maybe?
yes, I'm
Okay.
loving the person.
Okay, and this
Because
leads me to love the good points in the person, or the good parts that bring me together with that person.
yeah, when you go to back to our Islamic history, and
Mm.
we'll see how Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ behaved to the enemies he had.
Okay.
He respected their differences
Mm.
and their sometimes their ego when he
Mm.
went to Mecca to open it.
Mm.
And when he considered their ego, they discovered that Nabi ﷺ saw their inner side,
Mm.
although they are completely different from the ego. Sayyidina Muhammad has different ego.
Mm.
His ego is really toward the others,
Mm.
and their ego toward themselves.
Mm.
And he considered them. And when he did it like that,
Mm.
in love,
Mm.
they went to Islam.
Mm. Exactly.
So
It's a
when
very
you,
good point.
yeah, when you respect others,
Mm.
and you will tell them that you see them from inside,
Mm.
from their own history,
Mm.
and from their own situation now and circumstances, you will give a great communication touching their hearts and touching the love inside them. Maybe they have a stone heart, but when you touch them like that and respect their behavior, you will put a bridge between you and them
Mm.
based on love.
Mm.
And maybe this will be the first step to communicate with others. So we have to consider it.
So love actually leads to good communication with
Sure.
others, and this has certain basis that everyone should has, which is understanding others and understanding the differences between him and others, and accepting that.
Yes,
right?
respecting these differences.
And respecting and accepting these
Yes.
differences. You shouldn't accept them, but you should respect
Sure,
them.
Sure.
So this will lead to have love in the right way. But we want to move on to love for people who are just very much like you. There's no differences, but you give them more than they should have.
Okay.
Some people have a problem in this, like they love their friends, for example, if they're students or if they're at work, and they give them more about themselves, and this causes them afterwards problems. So can you explain this a little bit?
Yeah, when we give them the love, I have a friend, for
It's
example.
the opposite. It's the
yeah,
opposite. It's
yeah,
the
yeah.
person who has a lot of common things,
Yeah.
but you give them more than they should have.
Okay. Let's do it an example. I have a friend, I give him a lot of respect and love, and vice versa, I'm considering that he is going to love me
Mm.
and respect me the same way I did.
Mm.
But he didn't.
Mm.
So I have to face him to know what is going on. But there is a way to face others.
Mm.
I don't humiliate them.
Mm.
I have to understand why you did it like that.
Mm.
I did this for you because I'm really respecting you.
Mm.
But you gave me reactions which I don't understand. So let's go through it. Let me know why you did it.
Mm.
Why you didn't respect me the way I did to you. And we start opening the discussion again.
Mm.
And by this way, maybe you are going to reopen. If he insists,
To not to reopen.
okay.
There the problem happens, I think, in my opinion.
In my way, I'll find a midway person, key person.
Mm.
Maybe he knows him more than I did.
Mm.
And he know that sometimes my way didn't open his heart. So I'll ask others to tell me a way, a new way. Maybe I need for it to let me have a good communication with others. So I'll keep trying. I'm
Okay.
not give up and withdraw from
But
this way.
sometimes, even if you keep trying, the person in front of you just don't appreciate it, and he doesn't want to reopen, and he just like doesn't deserve this love.
There is a
So-
reason, yeah, Muhammad. There is a reason. I have to find it. But if I have a man which maybe he is completely socially isolated and he is in need, he is no need for social activity, not to be isolated.
The material
close.
life leads some people to be just wanting their own benefit,
Yeah.
and they don't appreciate it, and that leads to problems after that to the person who gives the love, that he doesn't trust anyone after
Okay.
that.
If there is-
We want to talk about this point, but
Oh.
after the break.
Okay.
Okay,
let's
dear
go
brothers
after
and
the break.
sisters, we'll take a short break and we'll be right back, so stay tuned. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters, to Book Review. We're talking about psychology in Islam with our beloved Professor Hashim Bahari. Welcome back, Professor.
Welcome.
We stopped about love and giving love
Yeah.
to people who don't appreciate it.
Yeah.
This leads to a psychological, in my opinion, problem to some people, to a lot of people these days,
Yeah.
because of the material world. They give love to people, they don't appreciate it. They don't feel the worth of it. And that leads these people who gave the love afterwards not to trust anyone. So can you talk to us about, a little bit about solving this problem that is very common nowadays?
Okay. Number one, we did our best
Okay.
to open a relation, good relation based on love with these people, and it didn't work, and used a key person to reopen the relation, and it didn't work. And at that time, I have to be the way he did,
Okay.
to be materialistic. That I have a relation with you in the a job, in the occupation we did together, and we still keeping a relation in this area with each other. So we have an agenda, we are going to meet, and during this meeting I have to respect you all the time, and I have a plan, schedule, we have to go through it, and
That's
and
it.
yes, that's it.
Okay.
I have to
But how can you treat that person afterwards? Like, he lost trust in people because of this relationship, or because of this problem that he has with his colleague, or so.
You know, there is a very proverb called business is business.
Okay.
We have to keep it like that, and sometimes we don't.
So that's what you tell your patients?
Yeah, if you did your best, and you started to give love to someone, and he didn't give you back, and you insisted, and you used all your power and the other's power, and he is not responding, so you have nothing to do. That's enough.
Then the mistake is not in you.
Of course, and you did, and you are not guilty.
Okay.
You are satisfied with what you did, and in front of Allah you did your best. That's enough. But you have to keep a respected relation. I'm not going to say, I gave and 1, 2, 3, and he didn't respond, so I hate this person.
And you
Don't
have to
hate.
go on taking revenge and stuff.
But you're right. Don't hate.
Okay.
That's enough. You did your best, and this is a relation, and you keep it superficially and related to job, a company you have post together, and that's enough.
And that's enough.
And you keep this respected relation.
She talks after love in her book about fear.
Yeah.
Fear of tomorrow. A lot of people have fears nowadays. Things are not stable economically, financially. There's a lot of problems that people are afraid of. Fear of tomorrow. How can you, as a psychiatrist and psychologist as well, treat it or advise to refrain from it?
We have 3 time frame in our life: the past, present time, and the future. The past is the school, the experiences we had. Of course, we can't take the past time to put in front of us now and repeat it again. We did it, and we went through it, and no way to take it back. But we learn a lot from it. We have a lot of lessons in the past time. The future, we have to have many plans for the future.
But you fear these plans won't work out, or you fear the plans you actually achieved and your achievements will be taken away from you.
Okay. You have
How
a
can you
plan.
treat this?
Okay.
How can you fight this back?
You have a plan, and you study it. You have a logic thinking, but you don't guarantee the future. No one of us can guarantee 1 minute after this minute.
But I think,
But we have to think.
okay,
We have to consider. We have to study to go to the exam. But you don't agree that you will reach the exam. But we are studying. We are building a company. We don't know the end point of the company, and it's going to be a successful company or not. But we are going to, what you know about the very important people. in
my
all
question is,
countries.
once you reach the success, how can you make sure that it wouldn't be taken away from you? Like, people fear that.
Okay, you can't guarantee, except if you're gonna study it and follow it. There is statistics give you impressions and good knowledge.
I mean,
about
don't you
that.
think that at this point we have only one guarantee, which is relying on Allah and having tawakkul, and that's the only point where there is only one solution?
No, there are two solutions.
Okay.
One of it, which is your mind, that you have to study, to have a plan, to follow your plan.
I'm saying you already have a plan, you already achieved the goals.
Yes,
But once you achieve them, people are afraid that this will be taken away from him. Like he
Yeah.
achieved the position, he's like the general manager, but he's
Yeah,
afraid
yeah.
that the job will be taken away
Yeah,
from him.
yeah.
So he fights that back by relying on Allah, by tawakkul, or is there any other way? That's the only way I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is the only way to give you the peace in your heart that no one can harm you, but
Except when it's
permission
written
with
on
Allah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have to agree that we have to think, and at the end point we have to rely on Allah that He will support us. And if there is no support, it will be our benefit that this project will be broken, and there will be another project. I know that Allah
Exactly.
keep it.
So
for
that's
me.
another way, like
Yeah.
believing that if this doesn't work out, I will have another thing granted for me from
Yeah.
Allah, and this is not the end of the world.
Yeah, right.
Having also always hope and giving hope to others. We want to move on to the very important point, which is that as you said, it's very important to have psychological fitness,
Yeah.
just like physical fitness. What is the effect of that on the whole society? And do you think that not having psychologically fit members of the community or of the nation is one of the major problems that the Muslim world faces today?
You know, Muhammad, there is a very important science in psychology called political psychology.
Political psychology, interesting.
Political psychology based on that each one of us is a person formed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Okay.
his own history,
Okay.
and now there is a man in front of you, a woman in front of me, which had her own impressions, her ideas, her attitudes, and this is in the society, is that society. This is our society. And if there is a maturity in our society, the maturity, I mean it, that you can understand what is going on, and you have to discuss it and understand it and to share and to think about the future. And we are gonna work in a team work, and to understand how to build a team and how to have a leadership. This will give you a very strong society. I'm sharing in this society.
The social illness in the Muslim world today are so much on the high basis, management leadership on the high basis of the governmental, to the very small basis of the very small members of the society that are very small and ineffective. These people all are, in my opinion, suffering from psychological disorders. A lot of them suffer from psychological disorders, like the people we're hearing of that are caught with all these crimes on a highly basis, and they're highly educated. They have psychological problems that led them to these crimes that they went through. How can we advise? Can you give us an advice to solving this in our youth and our children?
Let me tell you, there are many crimes now in our society, and the percentage is increasing, and my expectation that it will increase more. I'll tell you the reason after it. When there is a pressure in any society, there will be an aggression in the psychology of each one. And the aggression will go towards others and towards myself. So this will explain to us the criminality, the sexual harassment, and the aggression toward myself.
All these social ills are very related to psychology. That's what I mean.
And the inner aggression, which is addiction. So we have in our area 3,
Crime,
the crime, and the sexual harassment and the addiction, which are increasing in a very dramatic way. And about the leadership, I think each leader in our society is a person, has his own mistakes and his own rights. He is a human being, and I don't consider him as a criminal. Yeah, a criminal person. He's a person. He's a human being.
But I'm saying these people grew up to be like that because of psychological disorders that they have from they had from
Okay.
the start.
So, to solve it, we have to ask the leaders to have a communication with the people or the consultants, which are the
And these leaders and these effective people in the society, unfortunately, came out of the society. That shows that the society has the social illnesses in it, and most of it, unfortunately, is psychological.
But it doesn't mean that all consultants are sick, because
No, they're not. But I mean, like.
So we have to discover and ask for a very respected consultants, has great education, background which is psychologically fit, and we have to consider the Western attitude toward the leader. We have to examine the leaders on an annual basis. Every year we have to let him go through medical examination, physically, mentally, psychologically, because their behavior affects all the people. So we have to be sure that they are doing well, to respect himself. Let him respect himself at first, and at the same time consider his people, that he is really facing the responsibility and take it seriously, and give us the best results with his mind, with his psychology, and with his attitudes towards his people.
Professor, as a closing, I would like to ask you, do you think that a lot of the social illness that we spoke about can be treated by returning to the Islamic values?
Sure, but not the Islamic only. At the same time, I can't solve an anger management with Quran only. We have to consider the Quran, of course, because أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ. But at the same time, we have to put him on a treatment plan to re-improve his ability and the quality. So we have to do both, but sometimes it works with both, sometimes it works.
But I mean, the social illnesses started actually when people went away from the Islamic values. Do you agree?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no, because I have some of my clients which are really Muslims and are doing fine, very fine with Islam, but they are facing some brain changes. Like, for example, epilepsy, which is convulsions. It's not related to Islam. It is related to electricity, and we have to consider it and we have to face it with the Islam, that alhamdulillah of what we gave me. But at the same time, we have to have medicine.
Professor Hashim Bahari, head of the Department of Psychiatry in Al-Azhar University, I would like to thank you very much at the end of this episode. Thank you for being with us. We really appreciate it. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Thank you, dear brothers and sisters, for watching this very interesting episode of Book Review. Till the next episode, I leave you in the care of Allah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.